I'm recording. Hi, everybody. So we're doing functions, parent functions, transformation parts. Before you did identifying them, matching the picture with the name. So now we're doing transformations. Transformations like left, right, up, down, vertical stretch, vertical compression, reflection, all of those. Okay, so let's get into this. Let me switch to my document camera. There we go. So function transformations is the assignment. We did this back in November. We had, if you remember A, H, and K, we talked a lot about A, H, and K. They each have their own meanings. A, if it's negative, reflection across the x-axis. If A is greater than 1, positive number, vertical stretch. And if A is between 0 and 1, not talking about the negative part, just bigger than 1, negative is dealt with here. So this is if whatever the number is bigger than 1 is vertical stretch, not necessarily positive because the negative is dealt with there. And then if your A is between 0 and 1, it's vertical compression there. H, remember, is left, right, opposite of the sign. Gotta remember that. K is up and down, same as the sign. And then we have if your X is negative, specifically X is negative and it's inside the grouping symbol, that would be called a reflection across the Y-axis. So, and it has to be inside the grouping symbol, so like inside a parentheses. So if you have something like negative X squared, that X is not negative. That does not go here because it is not inside a grouping symbol. Okay, you're going to be using these symbols. A number in front of f of x is your A. A number in the parentheses with x is your H. And then a number after the parentheses is your K. So remember function notation, we did a whole assignment just on function notation. And then for negative x, that's inside the grouping symbol. So these are some of the things you're going to be working with on this assignment. So for the examples, and the actual notes for the assignment for this one was November 18th. That was the function notation, and we did things based off function notation. So I'm going to keep it here, do these. Example 1, in fact, I'm going to switch this. There we go. Example 1 here, it says 2/3 f of x. So there's an invisible times there. It's 2/3 times f of x. You just don't see the times because we don't always show it. That looks like this. And it says describe the changes made to the parent function. We don't know what the parent function is. It's just f of x. So the change is A. 2/3, it's not negative, so we don't need to worry about that. It's not greater than 1. It's between 0 and 1, so it's a vertical compression. And that's what we're going to write here. Vertical compression of 2/3. Okay, so you always write down as vertical compression is the words of 2/3. That's how much it's vertically compressed. Okay, example 2, we have this picture right here. So it's f of x minus 2, x minus 2 being in the parentheses. So we just need to see what that 2 represents, 'cause f of x is the parent function. Okay, well, that doesn't have anything in the parentheses with x. That one does. So we have h. H is left or right, opposite of the sign. This says minus 2. You want to say left 2, but it's not. It's the opposites. So the positive direction is right. So right 2 units. There we go. Or just right 2. Right? Here we have f of x plus 2. Let's look it up. It's not this. Something added to the end. Nope. That's in the parentheses. We don't have that. We have this. It's up or down. same as the sign. So if it's positive, it's up. If it's negative, it's down. Okay. This one, positive 2, so it's up 2 units. Okay. Example 4, we have a combination of things. Here we have an actual parent function. This is a cubic parent function. If you don't remember your parent functions, remember we gave you this handout here, and if it has to the third power, whatever your x is in, if it's to the third power, whatever's happening to your x, that's a cubic function. And I know this is a cubic function because it has to the third power. Okay, so we need to figure out all of the changes that are happening. So we have this right here, this right here, this right here. Basically anything that's not part of the parent function. The parent function is x to the third power. Anything other than that is a change. So we have to identify the changes. So remember, it's alphabetical order, A, H, K. So our A is -3. A is negative. A negative is a reflection across the x-axis. So we write it down. A is greater than 1. It's -3, but we're just talking, we dealt with a negative. Now we don't need to worry about the negative, we have 3. 3 is greater than 1, vertical stretch. So that is the next thing. Vertical stretch of 3. We don't need to say -3 because again, we dealt with the negative when we talked about the reflection. Our H is -2. H is left or right, opposite of the sign. So left is +2, right would be -2. We have a -2, so we would say right 2. Okay, and then we have our K is +1. K is up or down, same as the sign. +1 would be up. Okay, so a lot happening on this problem. Okay, now we look at this problem. If you notice, our x is in the parentheses and it's squared. So the parent function for that would have x being squared. It's the quadratic. We know it as the parabola, but the technical name for it is quadratic. Okay, so let's look at this. There's no A, there's no H, there's a K. What there actually is, there's a negative in front of x and the K. So we have to do that description. Notice the negative sign is in the parentheses being squared. Let me erase this H because it looks weird. There. Now it just looks smudgy. That negative is in the parentheses with x. So we have a specific thing for that. Because this is A. A is not in the grouping symbol with x. This one is -x inside the grouping symbol, and that's what we have. So it's a reflection across the y-axis. And that deals with this negative. There's no A to deal with. There's no H to deal with. We have a K. K is up or down, same as the sign. It is +3, so I would say up 3. Okay, that's what you're doing with this assignment. You're basically just recognizing the changes made in the parent functions. Most of it is in function notation, like these. Some of it has actual equations where you list the changes. And make sure to list all that apply. When it says all that apply, make sure to list all that apply. So it'll have a whole, it's like multiple choice. There's a whole list of them, different changes that can be made. Choose all the ones that apply to the problem, because if you miss some, you're losing points. Okay, so there's function transformations.